Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through all the noise and just get straight to what you really need to know. And today, wow, we are diving into the incredible, like 4-decade-plus journey of Helloween, a band that just keeps going. We're talking about Giants and Monsters. That's their 17th studio album, or maybe 19th if you count the special ones. But the big thing is it's the second full album from the celebrated Pumpkins United lineup. And this release, it brings up some pretty big questions for fans, for critics, everyone really. Like, does Giants and Monsters actually live up to all that hype from the reunion? Is it a real step up from the last one? And maybe most importantly, how much impact is this bigger, all-star lineup really having on the sound? These are the things we want to dig into.
Precisely. Yeah. And this deep dive, it's our shot at exploring exactly those questions. We've pulled insights from quite a few different perspectives. We've gone through a stack of sources, really, to try and give you a full picture of what makes this album work, where it shines, and maybe where there's still a bit of discussion.
Right. So if you're looking for that shortcut, to getting up to speed on a really significant metal release, well, you found it. Our mission here is just to deliver those key nuggets of knowledge, help you understand not just what Helloween is doing with Giants and Monsters, but maybe why it matters in their huge career. Let's get started.
Okay, so let's unpack this thing. What's the immediate vibe, the first impression of Giants and Monsters when you put it next to the last one? The self-titled Helloween from 2021. Was that the first one from this reunion lineup, right? Is this new and a clear step up? Yeah, the consensus, and it's surprisingly strong, actually, is that Giants and Monsters is a very clear, very noticeable improvement.
Yeah.
Reviewers, they've really praised it for fixing some of the things that maybe didn't quite land on the predecessor. We're talking fewer tracks that feel like filler, definitely better production quality, and maybe a step back from some of the more modern stuff that made the last album feel a little less like pure power metal sometimes. This one, it really feels like they kind of zeroed in on Helloween's core strengths again.
Okay, and I did notice structurally it's actually shorter, just 10 songs, right? About 50 minutes. Did that sort of tightness help it, do you think?
Absolutely. I think that conciseness is something people really picked up on as a positive. It lets the album feel, tight, impactful, doesn't drag on. And the reception, wow, it's been huge. Some critics are calling it their best album since Gambling with the Devil, maybe even earlier. Others are saying it's like the most Keepers of the Seven Keys-like record since Time of the Oath, maybe even since the original Keepers albums themselves, which is saying something.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's another view putting it as the best album since 2010's Seven Sinners. But what's really fascinating, this thread that keeps coming up, is people describing it as an anthology, like an anthology of all the better aspects of every era of Helloween.
An anthology feel. That's a really interesting way to put it. So for you listening who might have followed Helloween for ages, what does that really mean, this anthology idea? How does that help you understand their journey, maybe?
Well, it means you're not just getting, Helloween now. You're getting this curated, kind of dynamic trip through their whole stylistic history. You'll hear bits and tracks, or whole tracks even, that deliberately call back elements from different times. The classic 80s speed and melody.
Right.
Some of the more melodic rock phases, even some heavier, maybe slightly proggy stuff from the post-2000s. It gives you this really comprehensive taste of their whole catalog almost.
Yeah.
Shows how they can look back but still push forward. It's like,
oh,
yeah, greatest hits of their sound, but all new songs in one package.
yeah.
And building on that, the musical approach, it feels really deliberate this time. Reviewers noted it's way catchier, easier to get into. The tracks often feel a bit simpler, maybe less complex on the surface. It does a great job blending that pure power metal feel with some pop metal elements. Makes it accessible, but still powerful.
Okay, yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting for me, because even with those pop elements you mentioned, this album definitely delivers some serious classic Helloween moments. Like, take Savior of the World. Sources are calling it a true anthem, pure power metal. It's got that fast double bass drumming.
That driving kick drum.
Exactly, that really pushes it. And those open chords giving it that big, soaring, epic feel. Then you add the guitar harmonies, the uplifting vibe, and Michael Kiske singing in that classic style everyone loves.
Yeah.
I mean, people are saying this song could genuinely be on Keeper 1 or Keeper 2. It feels that authentic. And then there's Under the Moonlight, another classic Happy Helloween tune, right?
Yeah.
Michael Wycath writing that one. Fits right into that Keepers feel. That seems like a bit of a shift from his stuff on the last record, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it feels like a conscious move, a very effective move, I should say. They're getting back to that traditional power metal sound. It feels like they're reasserting who they are at their core, but, with all the experience and different influences they've picked up over the years, it feels confident, not just like they're looking backwards.
Okay, and speaking of guitars, 3 of them, Kai Hansen, Sasha Gersner, Michael Weikath, how do they actually, use all that firepower in the studio on the album? What does that bring that, say, a 2-guitar band wouldn't have?
Well, that's one of the things reviewers really keyed in on this time. The band seems much more aware of the possibilities, what they can do with 3 guitarists. And apparently this leads to some truly amazing extended solos, often featuring all 3 guys trading off, weaving lines together, almost like a conversation. Yeah, and that synergy, that collaboration really elevates the album, makes it feel more like a classic Helloween effort, not just separate parts. It gives them options for richer harmonies, more dynamic leads, just a massive wall of sound when they want it. Right, so moving on to the vocals, singers, that dual vocalist thing on Giants and Monsters, it's handled really well, folks are saying.
Yeah.
Michael Kiske and Andi Deris, they sing a lot of songs individually, which lets their own voices really shine, doesn't feel forced together all the time. And then Kai Hansen comes in with shorter bits, but they fit perfectly. They're using that 3-vocalist approach, maybe more sparingly, but to great effect, is how one review put it. Picking their spots.
Right, maximizing the impact. And speaking of impact, Michael Kiske's performance, that's something that comes up again and again in the reviews, people saying he shines the brightest here, sounds more confident, closer to those classic Keeper performances maybe.
Definitely.
And even bringing some welcome aggression sometimes, like on Savior of the World.
Exactly, you can hear it. And his performance on Universe, Gravity for Hearts, described as epic, he really sounds like he's on top form.
Yeah.
He certainly does. And, Kai Hansen, too, he feels more prominent this time compared to the last album. He apparently contributed more songs, and his sound is kind of unique style. It comes through clearer in the mix. It feels more integrated, less like just a guest spot.
So, okay, this enhanced role for both Kiske and Hansen, how does that change the overall feel for you, the listener? Does it make the Pumpkins United lineup feel more like a real creative unit now?
Oh, absolutely. It feels like a really crucial shift. This album, it genuinely feels like it benefits from the entire Pumpkins United lineup.
Yeah.
Not just, the Deris era band with guests. There's a much better balance, it seems, between all the writers, all the players. Makes it feel more collaborative, more authentically Helloween in its totality. You hear all those different voices and styles blending together properly. It definitely elevates the whole thing.
Okay, but it's not just looking back, right? The album isn't purely a nostalgia trip. It also seems to have some tracks that push things a bit, show a more modern or adventurous side. What are some of those twists we hear?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Hand of God, which is a Sasha Gersner song, that would get singled out as maybe the most modern-sounding track. It's described as having darker, kind of proggy vibes, almost electronic or trippy in places, reminiscent of albums like Bitter Than Raw or The Dark Ride.
Okay.
Yeah, and somebody even mentioned a 90s Ozzy Osbourne feel.
Okay.
But importantly, it's also apparently incredibly catchy, so it shows they can still experiment effectively.
And another Gerstner track, Universe, Gravity for Hearts, that's the one you mentioned. Kiske sounds epic on, described as probably the best song on offer, maybe a future classic.
Right.
Longest and fastest, several tempo changes, those borderline thrash metal riffs. That sounds intense.
It does. And it really shows Gerstner's growing importance in the band's sound, I think. Then you've got Andi Deris' stuff, especially his more pop metal contributions. Songs like A Little Is a Little Too Much and This Is Tokyo. Now, A Little Is a Little Too Much, one review said it was, well, a little too poppy, but also ridiculously addictive. And these tracks, they show that lighter, more accessible side Helloween has always had. It's done well. Stops anyone claiming they're selling out while still being super catchy and fitting in the album's flow.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, shifting gears a bit from the music itself, let's talk about the sound, the production. That's often a big deal with metal albums. Did they get it right this time? What are people saying about the mix on Giants and Monsters?
They definitely seem to think so, yeah. The reviews consistently say the production works much better than on some of the previous albums. Sounds less overproduced, less compressed, less loudness war, maybe, compared to albums like Gambling with the Devil, Seven Sinners, even the last self-titled one. It feels more natural, less busy, gives the music room to breathe, basically.
Yeah.
And it's described as clearer overall. which, when you've got 3 guitars and multiple singers, having that clarity is pretty crucial, right? Lets you hear everything properly.
Absolutely. And what about the visuals, the album art?
Mhm.
Who did that, and what was the general take on it? Did it fit the Helloween vibe?
Right, the cover.
Yeah.
It's, once again, an incredibly beautiful painting by Eleron Cantor. Known for these amazing colors, his very distinct technique, it's definitely striking artwork.
Okay.
However, there's a bit of a catch for some people. A few reviewers felt it was maybe a bit repetitive of Cantor's style, and maybe that style isn't the perfect fit for Helloween. They kind of wish for something more cartoonish, simple, and silly this time,
Yeah.
full of ridiculous pumpkins. That classic fun Halloween visual style they felt was maybe missing here. So beautiful art, but maybe not quintessentially Halloween for everyone.
Huh. Interesting. So it's fascinating, right? Even with an album that's getting heaps of praise, there are always these little points of discussion, maybe some criticisms. What were some of the main things people pointed out that maybe didn't quite click for everyone on Giants and Monsters?
Yeah, there were a few recurring points.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, this strong gamma ray vibe in Kai Hansen's songs. Now, for listeners who don't know, Gamma Ray is the band Kai started after he first left Helloween, often a bit speedier, maybe roar.
Right.
So, for example, one track, Giants on the Run, apparently kind of turns into a Gamma Ray song halfway through. And We Can Be Gods was described as something that could easily be on a Gamma Ray album. One review even mentioned Hansen's sort of trademark growling vocals fitting in on these Halloween tracks, which is interesting. And Majestic, which apparently is an actual Gamma Ray leftover track, one source felt it lacked a clear structure or direction. So that Gamma Ray influence was definitely noted. Okay, another area was Andy Darris's songwriting. One reviewer felt maybe he wrote too many of the songs and that his style leans towards 80s glam rock and AOR.
AOR, adult-oriented rock, right, melodic stuff.
Exactly, more melodic, anthemic, maybe less riff-heavy. They felt his songs were generally more mainstream-focused.
Mm-hmm.
His singles, This Is Tokyo and A Little Is a Little Too Much, plus the ballad Into the Sun, were sometimes seen as maybe filler or just rather average. But, and this is important, you get the other side too. Another reviewer called Into the Sun Halloween's best ballad since time, so definitely different opinions there.
Okay, so disagreements on Darris's contribution. Anything else?
Yeah, one more significant point from some reviewers was a perceived noticeable lack of big guitar riffs, like overall riffing, and maybe fewer standout solos. The feeling was that most of the songs were built mainly around the vocals. For one critic, only 4 out of the 10 tracks really qualified as pure power metal, suggesting maybe a dilution of that core sound for some listeners.
So, with those points raised, the Gamma Ray feel, the Darris songwriting debate, the lack of riffs comment, do these criticisms actually dent the album's overall positive vibe? Or is it still seen as a major success, despite these things?
They don't seem to dent it significantly, not really. Despite these discussion points, the overwhelming feeling, the consensus, is still that this is a great album. Many reviews explicitly say things like, no real fillers, and pretty much everyone agrees it's full of really catchy songs. It's still widely considered a must-hear for fans of modern power metal. So yeah, there are nuances, different preferences, but the album as a whole seems to land really well. The criticisms are more like footnotes than deal breakers for most.
Okay, so bringing it all together, what does this all mean for you, our listener? What's the big takeaway about Giants and Monsters and where Helloween is right now?
I think it means that Giants and Monsters really marks a significant step, maybe an evolution, for this Pumpkins United lineup. It pulls off that tricky blend of classic keeper energy with, modern songwriting and, importantly, much better production this time. What really comes through is that this feels like a truly cohesive, energized band now. Michael Kiske and Kai Hansen aren't just additions. Their talents feel fully woven back into the Helloween sound. Their impact is much clearer.
And why should you care about this specific album? Well, because it's just great evidence that veteran bands that have been around for decades, can still deliver incredibly high-quality, engaging music. Celebrating over 40 years, and they put out a record that's mostly seen as an improvement, something fans are genuinely loving, old fans, new fans. It shows experience doesn't have to mean playing it safe or getting stale.
Exactly right. The fact that these guys, these veterans, are still putting out such great new metal, it honestly feels like a luxury in today's music world. You should really enjoy it while you can. It just sounds like an energetic band having a blast doing what they do, and that passion, you can really hear it.
So this whole thing, it raises a really interesting question for you to think about. Given this mix we've discussed, honoring the past while still trying new things, How do you think a legendary band should handle its legacy? How do they keep innovating without alienating old fans? What's that perfect balance between nostalgia and novelty in music today? Something to chew on. That's all for this deep dive. We hope you feel well informed and ready to take on your day.